Hey guys, welcome back to the Spillway. My name is Zach as always, and today we have a special guest, PJ.
Hey.
We're going to do this interview style again, like we did with Landon's interview, and we're just going to kind of go through some stuff and talk about a lot of the cool stuff PJ's into and what he does, and see if you guys like it. So please follow along. Make sure you follow him on all the things when he plugs his stuff and be able to go through things, and hopefully you guys get some out of this. So without further ado, who are you?
Yeah, my name's PJ Chavez. Been friends with Aaron, other hosts on the show, many years. That's a whole story we could go into. I've been watching the Spillway podcast every episode. I really enjoy it. You guys put together a really good show.
I appreciate that.
Dive into some really good topics. And,
we try.
And I do some pretty cool stuff. I've got a lot of side hustles going on and a lot of reasons for them. So
There you go.
But yeah, I'm excited to be on here.
Heck yeah. Well, we're excited to have you. This is something I've been looking forward to for a while. Aaron got to interview Landon. I get to interview PJ, so it's kind of nice. If I would have interviewed our previous interviewee, he probably wouldn't have talked to me. So we've got that going. That's joys of family. So, PJ, if I remember correctly, you started like indie game development, like really small scale indie game development, correct? Am I right on that?
Yeah, yep.
What kind of got you in? What started that path? What interested you in that?
Being a nerd. When I was in high school,
legitimate.
I didn't party as much as everybody else, a little bit though.
Okay.
But I started, I got interested in how PlayStation 1 games were made, and I looked up how those are made, and I found out that there's a programming language that was generally used for them. And I started learning how to write it myself, and so I actually been writing code since I was in probably middle school or high school when I started to take an interest, and then slowly started to develop games, and then eventually at some point after many years of developing games started to release games, and it's been something that I will probably do till the day I die.
Okay, it's kind of like your thing, more or less. Does it?
Yep.
Did it start off as a hobby and grew into a side hustle, or did it become?
No, it wasn't a side hustle
Okay.
for many years. I developed games for years without even publishing them. Most of them have never been seen. A couple of years ago, I published a game that got featured on one of the mobile app stores, and for about 4 months, it was making far more than my salary in my day job.
Wow.
So it's not quite something I do for a living yet, but it's something I would like to do for a living, and it's something I do almost every night.
Okay.
For fun, whether or not it's for money.
Right. So kind of like the ultimate goal, for lack of a better term, would be to be able to lean into that a little bit more full time, for lack of a better term.
Yes, and I think I mean, in this day and age, whether you're making games or you're whatever you're doing, you should try to figure out a way to turn it into a side hustle,
right,
and try to make money from it, and not to get burned out, not to turn it into a job. But in this economy, in this age, there's a lot of opportunities for everybody to figure out what they're passionate about. And if anything, besides the money aspect, it's about doing what you love for a living and working towards that. And we're in a society where that's not how many people get to live their lives, but it's a pursuit everybody should try. If you're passionate about building stuff, or arts and crafts,
right,
or whatever it is. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that people do out there. If you're passionate about fishing, you should figure out a way to turn that into content, or find a way to turn that into income, and figure out what path it would take to maybe do that for a living one day.
Okay.
So that instead of going into an office, you're going fishing.
Yeah.
Or you're making video games.
You know, I'm a kind of a gun nerd. Always have been, right? And I've talked to a couple guys who have made gun content or firearms industry more than just a hobby. And there's a fine line between turning something you love into a career, but also, like you said, getting burnt out by it and tainting the thing you love.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them I've met is like, dude, I lost the spark. I don't care anymore. And then I've met other ones that are like, dude, I still love it. Best job I ever had. So there's both those. I think it's just how you approach it. But no, I would agree with the prevalence of technology. I can't stand technology. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big chimp. I'm a simple man. I like simple things. I'm analog till the day I die. But I will caveat that with saying, or go against my own argument and my own thought process, with saying that because of the prevalence of technology, so much more is open to be able to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And the barrier for entry is so much lower than it used to be. I mean, take this. We're sitting here on a podcast being filmed through, a camera and 2 microphones, having a conversation that's going to get posted for whoever wants to see it can. 20 years ago, you didn't do this.
No,
this wasn't a thing.
A big setup. You needed a lot more hardware.
Right.
And the platforms were a lot less attainable to get out there on and so forth.
You didn't have the accessibility. Mm-hmm. So technology is a huge positive in a lot of ways, negative in some, but with this kind of thing being a barrier to entry being so low and viable for people, and then taking people like yourself, I mean, you've developed multiple games at this point in time, and you've been successful with those, but that comes off of the back of you building however many XYZ games before ever thinking about publishing, just honing it.
Yes.
And honing that skill and that craft before you got to the point of jump off point.
Yep. And before ever making a penny.
Right.
And so if you're making a podcast, for example, you can't quit after 5 or 6 episodes. Nope. You can't expect to have something very polished and very marketable. You have to do 100 of them, and you have to fail 100 times before you get a glimmer of success and build on it. And not just for a podcast. If you're making music, if you're making art, if you're trying to sell stuff that you create online, or whatever it is that you're doing, when you're transferring a hobby into something that could become a business, you have to be willing to fail, and you have to be willing to not make a penny and not get a lot of views that first 100 times.
Oh, yeah. And learn from that as much as you can. I mean, I like to take our experience, Aaron's and mine, with this channel. We're very new to this. I mean, the people who have watched, our content so far, or ones who will in the future, will notice a progression of honing things in and figuring out our patterns and how to do things, and even editing. I'm dumb when it comes to editing. I promise one day our videos will get better. And I'm kind of struggling my way through it, but learning from those failures, learning from the things that just, it doesn't look right. Like, there's one episode I was telling Aaron, I think it's episode 3 or 4, that the camera slightly canted and I didn't catch it, but we completed the episode and we're not going to re-record it. So I set full send, but it drives me nuts watching it, because I'm like, it's ever so slightly canted to the right or to the left, and it's just like,
Now, if your perfectionism stopped you from posting that, you would have lost all that content.
Correct.
You would have lost that opportunity to learn from that and to make sure that you fix those kind of mistakes going forward. So you just live with it. You post and then you keep moving on. And in this day and age, people consume content like crazy. So you just get the episode out there. It wasn't perfect, and you just keep moving forward. And that's how I feel about the games. If I was a perfectionist, I would never get anything released, would never do anything, because you're not going to be perfect ever, really.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
So to date, how many games have you published?
Okay, I've released 2 games on Steam, which is the biggest PC platform. I'm working on a 3rd Steam game. It's a multi-year project. And then I've released about 140 mobile apps.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I've released a lot of mobile games, well over 100 by now.
Okay.
Some of them were thrown together in weeks. Some of them were nearly a year-long project.
Okay.
I'm always working on something, and all of them were absolute failures. Most all of them were flops. Like I said, there was one that got featured on the Play Store and did amazingly well, and I've had a couple of them that have had little sparks and moments, and the mobile games, altogether, they've been played by millions of people. They've got roughly 6 million downloads altogether. So
holy crap!
It's weird because you make this software, and there's millions of people who have experienced it and got to play through it. They've
got to get enjoyment from something you put so much hard work into.
Yep.
That's nuts, man. I can't even fathom that.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think of, previous careers and things like that, and the people I've interacted with, and I've had the unique ability to be able to interact with quite a few, but not a tenth of that amount of people have I interacted with, and were able to impact, even if it was just 10 minutes of enjoyment in somebody's life.
Yeah.
with a mobile game. That's cool. I think that's neat.
No, I thought that there's you have to process that when you reach those kind of numbers, when you have a game that's been downloaded by 1.2 million people, like one of those. It's wild to think about everybody that's gone through and played that,
right? And
people you'll never meet and such forth. And in this day and age, almost anybody is capable of creating something like this. So even if it's a video, if you put out a YouTube or a TikTok video and it reaches 6 to 14 million people, it's like there was that many eyes that saw me. And the way I see people frame it sometimes when you think about it is, even if you get 50 people to view it, you imagine sitting in a room with 50 people
right
in an audience. That's still pretty mind-blowing. To have 50 people sit there and listen to what you have to say is pretty cool. So anybody that has ambitions of creating games or putting out videos or content or anything online, it's absolutely worth not, it's not worth stressing about if only 50 to 100 people see it, because that's a lot of people. And if you keep doing it, you might reach a number of people that you can't really imagine. Like, you can't imagine millions of people in an auditorium watching you speak, but that can absolutely happen, and it can happen to anybody. Okay. And I've got an empirical example of it because my little brother Kip, I told him to start posting a video every single day on TikTok.
Okay.
And he did, and for many months they got pretty much no views.
Right.
And eventually some of them kind of would get a couple thousand views, and then he had a video that got like 4 million views on TikTok.
And just kind of blew up.
And he eventually, within less than a year, he reached over 10,000 followers there, and he got monetized. And then just about 2 months ago, after being monetized, he had a video hit 18 million views monetized.
Oh, wow.
And it made kind of life-changing money for him in that moment.
Right.
And I shouldn't talk too much about it, and it's his situation and his numbers and all that. But my point is that I've seen that I've had some success reaching a lot of people with the videos, reaching people with games, reaching people with anything that I'm creating. And I started to tell him, I'm like, if you just stick with it, don't quit when you get no views, they will come. If you build it, they will come.
If you build it, they will come.
Something like that.
I always like glory goes to the man in the arena, but same principle.
Yeah. And so I tell everybody, when I see anybody who's even thinking about making content or making games, or somebody who makes bread or cookies and they want to think about selling it, but they're worried that people won't like it and that it'll be a failure, I tell them you should just get out there and do it, and then when it doesn't work, just keep doing it.
Well, there's always a market for everybody. I mean, there's so many people in the world. I mean, heck, there's so many people in America that you're gonna find a niche market for your thing, no matter what. It's just gonna take time.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, put your nose to the grindstone and do it. You wouldn't give up. Well, in theory, you shouldn't give up when learning a new skill. Why would you give up when starting a new venture?
Yeah.
As long as it's not bankrupting you, and as long as it's not, there are caveats as always.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But as long as you can put in the love, effort, and the time, if nothing else, be proud of it.
Yeah, and you won't stick with it if you don't love it. If you don't love making games, then you won't keep making them when you're not making a penny.
Absolutely.
When you're not making, when nobody's playing them. If you don't love making video content, you won't keep doing it when the video when it's not making anything for you. Because if you're only in it for the money, you're not going to have any success, because that doesn't come until much later. You have to have the passion to stick with it through all the failures. But anybody can do it. Anybody that sticks with it can do it. You have to be a little bit insane to keep posting whatever you're working on day after day after day, and expect it to change when it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. You have to be a little bit insane to expect that to change.
Right.
And but that's fine. I was gonna go somewhere else, but I kind of lost that train of
That's
thought.
all good, buddy. We go on tangents here all the time. So if it pops back in, just take that left turn and keep going.
Yeah.
So with going back into the game side of it, is there a particular one you're proud of? Let's put it this way. What's the proudest one you've released for you?
Yeah.
And what's the this was the worst experience one when it came to like
Ooh.
like I just the margins, right? But opposite ends of the spectrum. What's the one you're like, this is my edifice so far, and the one that's like, I hate this, even if you don't hate it, but this is the thing that I did not enjoy or didn't do as well as I wanted it to, or you understand the question.
I get it. By far my most proud game, I made a mobile game called Lone Tower, and it's like a tower defense game where you control one tower, you upgrade all these different stats, like how much attack damage the tower does, how fast it attacks, it has chance for critical hits, and and how fast it heals, and life steals, and all these cool things if you're into those kind of games. And that game I'm incredibly proud of, and I didn't expect it to do anything because I was coming off of releasing another game on Steam that was completely a flop, and I'm like, I just need a fun game that I would play. And so I started working on this, and I put it out in a very raw state. It was barely complete, didn't have anything to it, it was very buggy, and I just put it out there because I didn't care if it was successful or not, and I kept updating it, and then I built a Discord server, and I linked to that in the game, and started out with like 5, 10, 20 people. And then eventually the game started to gain a lot of success. And so people started to come into the Discord, and they would give me feedback, which was really needed because I had lost sight of what made the game good. I couldn't tell if it was balanced well anymore because I knew exactly how to run it, and I designed it. And
kind of couldn't see the forest through the trees kind of deal. Gotcha.
Getting that feedback loop was really important. And so eventually those two things fed each other. And now the Discord server has over 7,000 or 8,000 people in it.
Oh, wow.
And they're constantly playing whatever games I release now, and they're giving me feedback, which is like having a little tester group.
Nice. Very cool.
Constantly, and they're finding bugs faster than I can find, because the amount of bugs in the game, once you have people that are constantly pushing it and
seeing where those holes are at. And
it's incredibly valuable. So, but that was a passion project, and I'm still updating it to this day. It'll never be complete. It's a fully released project, and it's fully playable, and it's got a full game loop. But I always have more that I want to add to it, and there's really not enough time to add to it. And sometimes you have to be careful about adding too much to anything you're building. Sometimes you have to cut the fat out of things and simplify them, and just figure out what really works, and that makes something better than just adding more to it. So but it's a never-ending process. And as far as a game that I hated, I don't know.
Not necessarily hated, but your least favorite of them all. If you had to pick a favorite child, or a least favorite,
I'm trying to think of a specific example, but this does tie back into turning your hobby into a side hustle, whatever it is you're doing. For me, it's game development or video creation. I can't think of a specific project, but I can think of a handful of them that I designed them from the ground up with the intention for them to hopefully make money and hopefully do very well in the market. And I didn't design them because it was a game that I would play or that I would enjoy playing or that I even really wanted to work on. I built them because I thought they would do well, and they didn't. Spoiler, because I wasn't super passionate about them, and once I put them out there and they didn't do well, I didn't have a lot of reason to stick with them. So I can't think of a specific example, but there's probably 5, 10, 15 of those that
like original 100 and XY.
And I'm not super proud of.
That's an acceptable answer. I mean, that's kind of why we word the question the way we do. Is not sometimes people are like, what was your worst day? Oh, Tuesday, March 18th, 1994, whatever, right? Or it's, oh man, this one year or whatever, or much like this, like, it's not really any one, but there's this group of things that were just, I didn't have it. And it's seeing the contrast between those that's super important.
Yeah, they were night and day.
Do you have a favorite genre of video game, for one, personally, and then for two, does that translate over to, do you have a favorite genre of video game to make so far?
Yep, and they both line up very, very similar. So, and it's tough because I recall what I was trying to
there we go.
So what I was trying to remember earlier is that when I started creating video games and I started creating content, I would often push it very heavily on my family and friends, and I would often try to convince everybody that I knew personally to download and play and enjoy it. And in my brain, I wanted them to love it, and whatever you're creating, you have to realize, you were talking about how many Americans there are and that you'll find an audience and that those people are out there. You have to realize that the people closest to you do not share your specific interests, and your friends are not going to love the roguelike games that you make. For example, tying back to that question, my favorite game to make are roguelikes, a very niche genre of games.
I have no idea what that is. Explain.
Yeah, well, and so roguelike is so there's roguelite,
okay,
and there's key differences. A roguelike game is a game with permadeath. So when you
real consequence,
when you die in a run, you lose everything. You don't start over from a checkpoint. The whole entire game is over, and you start from the very beginning.
Oh, wow.
And also, it's generally procedurally generated, so you'll be in some kind of map or level that's different every single time. It's not handcrafted so much as it is built to be generated in unique patterns, and it's endless. So every time you play, it's unique. Okay. And sometimes that's not just the level. Sometimes that's the items, the whatever it is.
Okay.
And then the true roguelike genre doesn't have any kind of permanent progression. So unlike a typical RPG game, you're not going to level up your HP or have any permanent upgrades that come back after that run. You truly lose everything, and you start from the ground up. But the way you advance in games like this is through game knowledge and learning the mechanics and learning patterns and such forth, and it's very satisfying. Then you have this genre called roguelite, roguelikes, where there is permanent progression, so you earn a little bit of a permanent currency after a run, like in a tower defense, which you can permanently make your starting stats a little bit better and eventually become more powerful. And very pure roguelike fans treat those two very differently. They take it very seriously. But when I try to tell family and friends to check out these roguelike games, they're like, they're playing Call of Duty or Fortnite or very mainstream games. Nothing wrong with that. I play a lot of those too. But a lot of people in my personal life don't appreciate that kind of stuff. And so if you were trying to tell somebody about guns and rifles, you would probably start to go into very specific niches.
Oh yeah, I get really down the rabbit hole on
it. some of your family and friends wouldn't really, it's not that they don't like, it's not that they have anything against you, but they don't care, they don't know.
I've learned to hone in on the blank stare and be like, I've gone too far now. Okay.
Roguelike.
Yeah, it's the and like, oh, okay, I lost them right there. Yeah. I'm going down the rabbit hole that I care about, not them. Here's what you need to know.
And so growing up, and this is also part of the era that we live in, because I grew up watching cable TV, and there was only so many channels. It was more channels than my parents had, but it was still like 60 channels or so. And everybody was pretty well aware of what shows existed and what movies were coming out. Nowadays, you talk to your friend and you're like, hey, have you heard about this show? It's so good, or this movie. And they're like, what platform is it on? And you're like, Peacock or something.
Yeah, what streaming services are, or like, Googling, what streaming service is this on? I don't even know.
It, And so it's a really weird time to be alive, because you find these things that you're really passionate about, and the people immediately in your life don't even know about that it exists. But like you said, there's an audience out there, and so you go onto Reddit or some other forum and you start finding out that there's communities of people out there who do really care about this specific thing that you care about. And so the audience is there. You just have to figure out how to reach them. Whatever you're talking about, whatever kind of podcast you're making, whatever kind of video game you're making, whatever kind of bakery you're trying to start, whatever your side hustle that you're building for this hobby is, there is a very niche group of people distributed out there. But when you start out, I see everybody that starts out on YouTube or TikTok always trying to push it very hard on their family and friends, and that doesn't really help you. In fact, it can actually hurt you.
Right.
And the way that it can hurt you is if you start sending like video links to your parents and say, hey, watch this, support me. They'll be like, okay, cool, I'll watch that. You send them an hour-long video, they turn it on, they watch for about 2 minutes, maybe they hit like, and then they leave because they don't really care about the content that you're making, not because they don't like you, but it's just not for them. It's not their thing. And so the algorithm actually sees that as a bad thing. The algorithm's like, oh, these people left,
jumped off. Gotcha.
And so
okay.
I learned sometimes pushing your family and friends to try to support your hobby, it can actually negatively impact you.
Really? Okay, that makes a lot of sense now, since Aaron and I have kind of been into this a little bit. Like I said, we're constantly learning, but it makes sense. And there's one of the reasons we started this podcast was to have such a broad spectrum of topics, but also view it through a very specific lens. And the manliness, that's what started this podcast, is just the guys being guys coming together and just being dudes.
Yeah.
And we felt like that was important to showcase, but be able to talk about anything underneath that lens.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
With that, we talked about being able to do this interview style as we got down the road. I mean, I think this is episode 10, I believe. So great, congratulations. You've hit double digits with us. You're our first. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think you're episode 10, but
cool
that's huge for us because
9.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong. There's somebody typing in. This is episode 7. Be like, well, I can't count, so joke's on you. Math's your thing. Make it a side hustle. But no, it's important that we have this thing because we want to branch out and get other. Mm-hmm. Nobody just wants to watch us talk constantly. I mean, I'm sure somebody does, but have that change up, have that difference of opinions or topics or whatever, and bring more people together and. Within the bounds of being able to help each other, but just have different opinions. It's so fascinating finding out. I mean, if Aaron and I were just to talk, we'd never know about video games. I play video games when I can, but I've never even talked to anyone this close who's developed one.
Yeah, making the game's a whole different.
This is the first time experience for me, so I think it's really cool with that. Like you said, roguelite or roguelite. The first thing that popped in my head was Dark Souls.
Yeah,
which probably very different.
Yeah,
but for me, hated those games because I'm being punished for playing this. I don't want that. I want to escape. My favorite type of video games, and I don't know if you'd call them RPGs, but also like story-driven RPGs. So like. Not BioShock, Mass Effect. By far, my favorite game series is Mass Effect because of the story. I'm all about story, and that's huge for me.
Character development.
Correct. Everything matters, and there's permadeath, but at the same time, you can restart at certain points if you're smart about it and things like that. So like, it's the continuation of that kind of stuff. I thoroughly enjoy it, but that's really cool that you have a set grouping that you kind of like to do. Now, are you typically, when you're developing, are you sticking to that genre, or are you kind of going branching out, trying to gain different people in different areas? Like, what's your thought process and method behind the development?
The other advice when you're creating anything, besides not pushing it on people, family and friends directly, instead going for organic growth, is you do have to niche in.
Right.
And over the years, I've made every type of video game you can imagine. I've made sports games. I've made board games. I've made every life sims. I've made RPGs. I've made action platformers. I've made pretty much every kind of game I can think of. But the last couple of years, I have niched in, and I almost only exclusively make these roguelite type of games now.
Okay.
And part of that's because I've developed an underlying set of knowledge for how to make them and how to balance them and how they work well. But it also is just because I love making them. And when I'm making video content, I used to make videos on everything, random daily videos, vlogs, and talking about every little topic from crime to politics to sports.
Right.
I mean, I was making content on everything, and then I started to niche in, and I found a very specific niche, and that's pretty much all I do. And so I have found, and it's not easy because sometimes you just want to go all over the place.
Right.
But if you really want success in whatever you're creating, you do have to kind of niche in onto a certain thing. And that doesn't mean that you guys can't talk about any topic.
Right.
But it does mean you
Right.
found this focus on how you approach it.
Correct.
And so that's a really good way to put it. I mean, you can guarantee that whatever you guys are talking about, it comes through a lens of, what it's like to be a grown man and
Right.
in this world and experiencing those topics, those things from
that point of view.
that point of
yeah.
view.
And that's exactly it. That makes sense. And then that makes sense that it's a thought process and an avenue you can take in anything, from designing video games to X, right?
Yeah, so it's a good thing to talk about, but I want to make sure that anybody watching understands that these principles, these ideas, these little things that I've learned,
right.
they're not exclusive to making games.
No,
or making videos. Like I said, if you're making bread or bakery, because I have a lot of friends who are starting bakeries.
Yeah, I do too. I was just thinking about that when you were saying that. I was like, I know like 4 people who've started bakery or
I don't know why
cottage style bakeries lately,
so
and I'm like, yeah.
But whatever you're doing,
Right.
whatever your hobby is, whatever you're building, when you're transferring, it doesn't have to be anything specific. A lot of these are generally, they apply in anything.
Right. Anything you're going to try to accomplish.
Yeah.
With that, and we'll end on this when it comes to the video game portion or video game topic. Do you have any up and coming projects you want to talk about, or anything that you are interested in saying? You don't have to, of course, if you want to keep them on the down low or whatever you're doing. But
I've been working on my 3rd Steam game. So if you don't know what Steam is the most popular video game platform that exists, which some people never even heard of it. It's bigger than PlayStation or Nintendo or Xbox.
Oh wow, I didn't know it was that big.
Steam has way more players, but if you're a PC gamer at this point, you're pretty much playing on Steam. They kind of have a monopoly on the PC gaming market.
Okay.
It's not. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a topic for that's its own video.
Steam is where it's at for PC gaming at this point, and it's grown a lot over the years. So I've released 2 games on Steam. Neither of them did very well, but I learned a lot from each one, and they were steps up. And now, after many years of thinking it through in my head, I've devoted to a 3rd Steam game, which is my game Lone Tower, adapted from mobile to Steam, which is a whole other topic. And so, I've been working on it for just about 1 year now, and I don't have any rush to release it.
Okay.
So it's probably got at least another year of development. It's a long-term project.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's going to be, it's a game called Lone Tower on Steam, and it's a tower defense, roguelite tower defense game that's coming to Steam, and you can play it on the Steam Deck. But it's a passion project, and it's something I'm pouring my heart into.
Right.
Put thousands of hours into fine-tuning it and polishing it, and I have no idea if it'll be successful or not, but it's something I want to put out there in the world before I'm done. So,
well, with all those lessons you've learned so far, let's hope that maybe there's some honing there that you can transfer over and actually continue that process of being successful with it.
Yeah.
Now, you brought up your videos, your video content. I've watched some of your content, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I gotta say, the way, not just saying that because you're here, because if it sucked, I would tell you.
That's good.
But
that's the best feedback.
correct. Yeah, I'm brutally honest. Ask Aaron. But with that being said, I thoroughly like the pitch and tone, and even if the topics you talk about are kind of your styling isn't particularly my thing, it's still enjoyable because of how you put it together.
Yeah.
What started you down the path of wanting to do videos, A, and B, like honing in on what you have kind of found your niche at?
Yeah. I've made videos for quite a few years, very unsuccessfully for most of them. Mostly on YouTube, but now I've kind of branched out and found most of my success on TikTok, of all places. But
a lot of people have.
I've been putting videos on Facebook, and I'm kind of branching out to every platform. And I think you really should eventually branch out to every platform.
Okay.
And I had a really cool channel name a couple years ago that I really wanted to use, and I found out that somebody else had already pretty much used it, and it wasn't really going to make sense to use it. And so that very same day, I ended up coming up with another random name that didn't really have any relevance, called Not Famous. And so I've built all my channels under this name as Not Famous, and it's a very accurate name because I'm not famous.
Right.
And I don't want to be famous. And that was always the underlying concept is that it was talking about people that became famous for interesting reasons, and it went through many phases. At one point, it was true crime and all this, but it's started to hone in onto celebrity, famous musicians, and it is a hook and it is an approach that sometimes makes people angry. But I try to find the good in Hollywood, and that's it's
a tall order, bud.
There's so many names.
There's a saint in hell somewhere.
Yeah. And so there's so many, but the reason it's such a good hook is because people inherently expect when they hear a story about any given actor, famous celebrity, that it's probably going to have a negative, a negative annotation to it. And most of the time, that's absolutely correct. So I will find out the good that they've done, whether it was helping somebody, leaving a big tip, or just doing something positive for somebody. And there are a lot of really good, heartwarming stories. Some of them are older, from the 90s, with Danny DeVito and Robin Williams. And
those older caliber of actors.
Yeah, you find out some really, actually good things that they've done, good deeds. And you find out that not everybody in Hollywood is 100% evil all of the time. That might be the overwhelming reality of it. But I find the good stories and I tell those stories, and people are sometimes surprised to hear that there are those good stories out there.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. That's, like I said, having viewed your content, and it's not my thing particularly what you talk about, because like you said, I could care less about celebrities. However, there are stories I've heard that you have spoke about. Teach me to use big words. Spoke about that I didn't know, and I found super interesting for that moment in time. I was like, oh, I didn't know. That's really cool. And then, even though it's not my particular forte, it was really neat hearing that, and the way it's developed and the way you provide that information is entertaining, which helps a lot. Because you can sit there and listen to somebody talk like this and Bueller, and they can be talking about the most interesting subject in the world and you're going to fall asleep. But the way you deliver it, your pitch, your tone, your accessibility, being able to consume the content you put out comfortably and not have it be a slog is super important. That a lot of people don't realize. They think they can just put a video on and full send and they're going to get millions of views and they're going to make a ton of money, and it's like, that's not how that works. If you have a conversation, I kind of attribute video making in this, or content making, to when you're a kid trying to tell your first jokes. When you're a kid trying to tell your first jokes, you're trying to find your timing, and you suck. Every kid sucks at jokes at first. Every one of them.
A lot of adults do too.
A lot of adults do too, but it's that same. I mean, everybody can know a kid when they tell a story or a joke, and it's like there's no form, there's no structure. It's either run on or they keep going back over and they don't get to the punchline. I feel like it's kind of the same thing, because you're trying to find that flow. You're trying to find that how to talk to somebody, things like that, and the best way to practice that is just doing it and continually doing it. Yep.
Because if I go back and watch some of my videos from just a couple of years ago, and I'm like, I completely get why the watch time was so low. Because the first 15, 30 seconds of these videos are just a drag. And you're not getting to the point, not setting up a proper hook. All those pieces weren't really finely honed. Some of them are there, but they're not really finely honed. And so I've made probably 1,000 videos or more. A lot of them are short form videos. They're not long, hour-long videos. That's a whole different thing. But I've learned a lot of the ways to actually capture people's attention. And so, and part of the reason I even talk about celebrity culture, because I don't believe it's the greatest thing either, but it is interesting. And
it's its own thing. It's very much its own thing, own genre that most people don't get a peek behind. It is changing
in a lot of ways, because these big celebrities that you had in the 80s and the 90s, the 70s, the 60s, it's changing a lot. You don't have mega celebrities anymore, like your Brad Pitts and your Adam Sandlers. You don't have newer celebrities becoming that as often. You still have big celebrities in these new projects, but the culture is changing. People don't go to as many movies as they used to, and I think the ultra super famous celebrity is not something we're seeing as often anymore. So that culture is changing, and so it's something people are interested in.
I had a friend last night, as it was actually, make a comment, and I never thought about this, that Taylor Swift is probably the last naturally traditional great musician that we'll ever see. And I'm not saying that as if I think she's a great musician, but just purely objectively, with her ticket sales and being able, and releases and stuff like that, she was one of the last huge ones to be played on the radio.
Yeah.
And get propagation that way instead of through content or media or whatever, right? And I didn't think about it, and I wanted to argue against him, A, because I don't like Taylor Swift, but B, I want to argue against him, be like, wait, and I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, no, he might be onto something, actually, come to think of it, and I hate to admit it, but when it comes to just the traditional
mega artist,
she's probably one of the last that we'll see for a bit. I don't think she'll be the last, and he even said
it won't be as often.
It won't be the same path to get there either. It's changed
and
so much.
It may never reach the same peak.
Right. You know? It may have just, it might be for every one of those now, there's 5 or 6 that spread it out.
Yeah, the platforms are spread out.
Correct.
Nobody's seeing all the same shows. Nobody's listening to all the same music. It's so spread out that you're not going to ever have anybody who's as big as like Michael Jackson was.
Oh, yeah. And or Prince, or, you know, these globe-trotting,
they might sell
stars.
more, they might have bigger numbers and online streaming, and those platforms might enable some big numbers.
But they're also way more accessible, too.
Yeah, it's a different era to capture.
That's nuts to think about, especially as somebody who will more than likely never achieve that and never really want to. I don't want that spotlight. Listen, it took a lot to get me on this, let alone. I mean, I think we talked about it for a couple years before we actually just said, let's do it. And it's this silent fear of mine of not being in front of people, because I've spoken in front of crowds before. That doesn't bother me, but just the idea of people recognizing me. I don't like being recognized. I don't like people knowing me, be like, I know you from somewhere, by just knowing me because of work or something else, let alone, hey, you're so-and-so. No, I just got one of those faces. I'm not that guy. But it's interesting, though, that trying to work past that, but seeing the landscape change when it comes to famousness and stars and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you take that forefront and you've kind of delivering that positive aspect of one of the most degrading societies that there is, truly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really neat to be able to deliver.
It's not
that.
Out of a love for celebrity.
No.
It's something else, but
that's cool. So with that, so your channel name is Not Famous.
Yep.
And you kind of already said why you got to that point, right? That namesake.
Yeah.
Is there, if I remember correctly, you're kind of going off of more or less short form videos right now is kind of your thing?
Transition to short form.
Transition, because I remember your old stuff. You were a little bit longer form.
Yeah, I used to make full
length videos.
Non-vertical. It's just adapting to what works. And so that's another thing is you have to you have to fail 100 times, but you don't do the exact same thing 100 times.
Right.
Every single time you fail, you realize the camera was off, the sound wasn't right, I could have spoken better here, I had too many pauses. You have to look back and reflect on why things failed and figure out how to just improve them and polish them, and that's how you do get better. And so I've adapted to short form content. And one thing I wanted to tell you guys even with the longer videos you're putting out here, I think with the segues you guys do in these videos, you guys should look into even cutting out, when you guys talk about a specific story or a specific thing in a lot of these videos, there might be a 3-minute chunk
section
there that you guys could cut out and put into a short form video, and that might be something that people could kind of like a small snack size bite for people to reach people. They push out a lot on YouTube and TikTok and all these other platforms, short form content right now. It is very hot, and you put out some of those, and that might pull in a good chunk of viewers. And some of those people might say that was really good. I kind of want a bigger, I want
see
the
more of that
now.
Right?
And then they gravitate towards watching the full episode, and it's just advice in that case, but also general advice for everyone. But it wasn't always short form content, and I used to do these long 45-second intros and I just learned people don't want that. I try to respect people's time and just get straight into the point.
That makes sense.
Sometimes stretch it out a little bit long because I need the videos to be long enough to tell the story and to
hit a certain thing.
Yes. And also it's an emotional roller coaster. I want people to come away from every video, whether angry or laughing or heartfelt,
You want to have a reaction of some sort.
some kind of reaction, drive emotion in people like that. So
that's cool, man. That's really cool. I appreciate that, and I see that with your videos a lot. Moving forward from that, do you have a overarching plan that you want it to go, or do you kind of just rolling with the punches and seeing what works?
I don't know where it'll go. I'll probably keep doing it as long as there's a platform for it.
Okay.
And as long as it's easy enough for me to do it. I just grab my phone. I used to edit videos on PC and go through that. And there's a lot of purists who will argue for having the fanciest lights, the fanciest sound equipment, and but a lot of my videos are just shot in my truck, and I just have a topic that I want to talk about, and I record it, and I edit it in 20 minutes or less. Some of my best videos were put together in 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
As opposed to editing them for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
And when I say best, I don't just mean that they got the most views. I mean, like, they were actually videos I was proud of,
Right.
But it may not look like a studio quality. And that's what we live in, an era where you don't have to have. Sometimes people actually respect, or people relate better to a guy talking in his truck about something.
I feel like society's reached this point where accessibility, but also realism, is a huge thing. Like, we've got a little set here and stuff like that.
Really nice.
It's also just kind of my man cave, so regardless of this going on or not, this is what my wall looks like. But at the same time, people crave that realism, I feel, because so much is tailored.
Scripted.
Yeah.
Lit up and polished.
And it's response and answer, or outlandish skit, or this, that, the other. And those have their place. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the effort put into those. But when that's everything, you just kind of lose I just want to listen to a guy talk.
Yeah,
like some of my favorite podcasters, I just listen to them talk. And one of my favorites is Creepcast with Papa Meat and Wendigoon.
Yeah.
And I religiously every week listen to their podcast because got caught up when I found them.
Very good.
And it's not only what they're talking about, but how. And they're just two guys going over stories, but their banter and everything. It's this weird. There's a term for it when you feel like you're listening to friends, a friend group, even though you have no idea who these people are. You have never met them, and as long as you can understand that and keep that separation in your brain, because there are those people who be like, "Oh, I know these people." No, you don't. They're guys you listen to.
Fame is a dark thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different avenue. Yes. But it's that comfort though of like listening to a friend group, and it's kind of nice having something that you can sit there and listen through and enjoy and look forward to every week. And it's I look forward to it almost as much as I look forward to the shows that my wife and I watch. It's that consuming media. I usually do it with working out or something like that, and it's my jam for that week. So I get that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. And I think as you guys reach more people, there's going to be people that feel that same way, because every time I see your guys' episodes come on, I look forward to it. I'm like, oh.
We appreciate that a lot.
I put the headphones on, and I listen while I'm at work usually, and it makes the day go by a lot faster, and the topics are really enjoyable, and I feel like I'm learning something, and it feels like, oh, I know these guys really well. Like, I feel like I've been in this room. And
right.
It's kind of surreal to actually see the set here in person, but after seeing it on all these episodes, But so regardless of making video content for money or views or anything, I think I'll just keep doing it for years.
Just for kicks.
It's just fun. It does take a lot of vulnerability to put yourself out there and then to share it for other people to see. And you have to be willing to look really stupid, and you have to be willing to show your ugly face on the screen or whatever it is. It can. I
changed my shirt before you got here because I noticed there was a spot on it, and I was like, I'm going to see it. Yeah. I got to change my shirt. That's just how it has to be.
But you're either going to put yourself out there or you're not.
Right.
And, I mean, I don't know what all the reasons I do it are for. Maybe a legacy. I've made some decent money from the video content. I found a lot of success. I've reached a lot of people. I've got comments from people who said that the video made their day better in some way.
That's huge,
and
man.
When you see that, you're like, that is awesome. And like with video games, I've had people tell me that their kid really enjoyed a game that I made, and it reminded me of being a kid and playing Mario or Zelda, I'm like, if I can create even a little bit of that magic for somebody, or just make somebody's day better in the smallest way through a quick video they watched or something like that, that's very satisfying. That ranks probably above making money or anything else from it, And it's so that's I'll keep doing it as long as those incentives are there. But
it seems like there's an overarching theme in the things you enjoy doing is just putting out things that are positive impacts in people's lives. I don't mean to say that like some hippity-dippity positive vibes in the universe stuff, but it's important though to be. I feel like so much is negative now, and that's one of the things Aaron and I have talked about on this channel and privately as well. And with starting this channel is we can talk about negative topics, but we're not putting it out negatively. If we can put things out there to provoke thought, positivity, and things like that, and I feel like positivity is used way too much as like a caption almost or a catchphrase, and it shouldn't be. It should be sacred because you have to have light to offset the dark, and it feels like there's an overarching theme in everything you're doing. Is your main goal behind it all is just making somebody's day better.
Yeah.
And being able to positively impact somebody and just make it to be like, hey, today sucked. I'm going to throw on this video game that makes me happy. Or today sucked. I'm going to watch this dude who talks about stuff that makes me smile or, makes me think or whatever, right? Like it's less about you doing it, more about what others get out of it, which I think is pure. And if you go into something with that mindset, like you said, taking monetary gain out of it and all the fame and all the other crap out of it, and just going in with the thought process of I want to make everybody else feel better. It's just there's a pureness there that no matter how successful or unsuccessful you are, it will be respected.
Yeah.
So
no, I completely agree. The biggest motivation I have to turn my hobbies into side hustles, and the reason I probably side hustle more now in my late 30s than I did in my 20s, because I've been working in hobbies since as long as I can remember. I was making games and content and writing stuff, all sorts of stuff for many, many years, but now I'm the sole financial provider for a family of 6. I've got a wife and 4 kids, and I think any grown man or woman in a lot of cases in this day and age out there can understand that you can go to your day job and make whatever amount of money and make somebody else rich and get your 3% raise every year, cost of living, whatever it is, and then go home and play video games or go home and watch your shows and all that with your time. Or you can turn whatever you love, whether it's playing video games, whether it's talking any of these topics, making bread, making bread in multiple ways, I guess.
Yes.
And you can find a way to monetize it. And it's not just because you're trying to make money, but it's not about the money. It's about providing for yourself, for your family, and making something of it, And it's not just because you want to make money to buy nice things. It's also because you want to move towards not working for this day job and making someone else rich and that whole... You want to move towards doing what you love every day for a living,
right?
I don't know if I'll ever get there. I don't know if I'll ever completely be able to quit my day job and make video games and video content for a living, but it's a goal of mine. It's something I'm trying to make happen and move towards, and because for me that's the path to happiness, right? Is to do what you love. I don't want to spend the rest of my life writing code or developing software for a big tech company that would throw me away in a heartbeat.
Right.
I want to eventually do it with things that I want to make
for the love of it.
And I think that's something almost anybody, like I said, whatever you're doing, anybody would want that, is to spend your days doing what you love. Absolutely. That's the goal for me.
I think it's as simple as that. And I agree wholeheartedly. As so many people get lost in the weeds of, like you said, I want to start a YouTube channel, but there's so much out there already. I'm not going to be successful. Just do it. Sometimes you just gotta do it or resign yourself to the fact that I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
and move on from it and do something else.
Yep.
No matter what it is, it's important to. There's so many. I feel like we're at this weird place now that there's so many people that are special that nobody's special, and if you can accept that, and I don't mean to say that to be like you're not special, don't do anything, but understand that just because you have this certain niche or this certain talent or this certain thing that you're really, really good at doesn't automatically mean you're going to be successful at it.
Yeah.
You keep the grind, keep moving through.
The grind is the real...
Yeah, and just keep moving through it and keep trying new things or that same thing, but like you said, tweak to different ways to see how it shakes out. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, that's really, really good positive advice and really good things to let people know who maybe have never heard that. Maybe they've never had anybody in their life tell them that.
Yeah.
Thirdly, I understand that you have recently released 1 or 2 books.
I've released 2 books.
2 books so far.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if the second one... I couldn't remember if the second one came out yet.
No, it was that.
So, you're a writer, clearly.
Yep.
What... For those of us who don't know anything about it and pretend I have no idea about your books, what started your hobby in that or your love of that? And what type of books have you released? And what kind of books, how are they put together not only from your forming of them, but also as a product?
Okay, so once again, this is not going to be for everybody.
Correct.
It may not be your thing, and that's fine. And this is why I don't super heavily push it on all of my friends and all my family. You have to go buy this book. I don't do that, but I know that there is people who appreciate this stuff. I love scary stories. I love Stephen King. I love haunting tales and ghost stories, and I really enjoy short stories. And so many years ago, I started writing short scary stories, and I would post them onto these subreddits where people share writing and short stories. And I would share these 500 to 1,000 page scary stories. And it was a really cool thing in some of these subreddits because one of them has a limit on 500 words. And that's not very many words.
No, that's not.
So it actually forces you to be very creative with every word and not to really fill it with fluff. And that's a brilliant thing. It's a very good it's a good challenge because it forces you to come up with something that's powerful and something that leaves people thinking, provocative, and has a twist, all within this small little chunk. So I started writing all of these short stories, these short scary stories years ago, and I created this Facebook page called Scary Stories and Urban Legends many years ago, and it's done pretty well. It has about 150,000 followers.
Okay.
And I would share the stories there, and then just anything scary or haunting content-wise for many years. And then at some point over the years, I'd always wanted to write a book, but the concept for me of writing a long novel, it is very challenging to think about that. You have to really tie it together, make sure it flows well. And so I would like to get there and write a long novel, but for me, I'm like, I've got all these stories that I've wrote over the years. I should turn this into a collection of the ones that I think are very well done and really stick to people. I should brush them up, polish them up, maybe make some of them a little bit longer, and then put them together. And so I put together this collection of short, scary stories that I've been writing for about a decade into this collection, and I released it as a book called Midnight Nightmares. And anybody can release a book in this day and age. You can actually get a digital copy of the book on Amazon, but you can also order a paperback copy or a hard copy of the book, and hold it and read it. It's such a satisfying thing to see a creation you made like that delivered like that, and to see people. I get messages from people probably every week or two showing me a picture of them opening up a package with my book in it, and I still sell a chunk of them every month. It hasn't been my most successful side hustle, but it's been all right, and I've sold a couple hundred of each of the books. And so,
it's pretty cool, though. I mean, that's huge. Being able to say you're a published author, even if you're self-publishing, that's huge. Not many people can say that.
No, and that was a life goal. It was like, I want to publish a book and say that I'd done that. And I want to have my books on my bookshelf. I've got a bookshelf downstairs, and I've got, I've got a bunch of copies of my book there, and it's really cool. My kids think they're cool. They check them out, and it's just such a cool thing to do. So I think, like I said, it's not that hard to pull it off if you really want to. Anybody could do it, and everybody that's interested in writing a book should very seriously consider doing so. It's never been easier. It is, like we said, there's never been more of a platform. It's never been more attainable for anybody, And so I released that, and I still had a ton of extra stories. And I was just in the mode where I couldn't stop brainstorming new ideas and writing stuff down. And so less than a year later, I released a second one, and I named it Scary Stories and Urban Legends. And I also transitioned from just scary stories in that second book to retelling some of the most famous urban legends that exist out there.
That's cool.
There's this urban legend about where the term "don't take candy from strangers" comes from. And in the 1800s, there's a real story that happened to these two kids who were approached by men on this horse-drawn wagon and offered this bag of hard candy. And one of the boys was kidnapped and never seen again. And there's a whole story. You can actually read it. It's a real thing.
Huh.
And that kind of was the basis for "don't take candy from strangers."
I had no idea that was actually... I always thought it was just a saying. I didn't realize it was rooted in a tale. Or
well, it's along the line of urban legends because
Right.
it's been retold so many times that a lot of the details get lost and mixed up and such forth. So urban legends are a whole interesting thing too. So the second book has a handful of just supernatural, scary stories, but it also has a handful of origins of urban legends, how these urban legends came to be, you know.
That's really cool, kind of branching out a little bit. Still similar genre, similar tie-ins,
Yeah,
but
both short story collections.
that's really cool.
The stories are relatively short. Some of them are 2 or 3 pages. Some of them are 5 or 6, or a little bit longer. They're very quick, easy reads. You can read 1 or 2 in a quick setting, or you can sit there and read it all night and get hooked. I recommend that everybody reads them late at night in the dark by yourself, because I really think that they're a lot more powerful that way. Like, you'll actually be like, I'm a little bit freaked out right now. Like,
what was that? Oh, that's the dog.
Yeah, and that's my goal with those books, is to create emotion once again and
absolutely.
leave people terrified. So,
Have a response.
Yep. So I've got Midnight Nightmares and I've got Scary Stories and Urban Legends, and I have a ton of ideas floating around for a third one, or maybe doing a full novel one day. But I think everybody that wants to write a book should take the steps to research and figure out how to do it.
That's cool, man. That's really, really neat. I love horror stories. That's one of my things. I have yet to read your book yet. It's on my list.
Bring you.
It's on my list of things to do. When I saw you release the first one, I was like, man, he's tickling my tism right now. Especially like you got that out right as I started. Like, I was halfway through Creepcast backlog. Oh yeah. And I was like, yeah, I need to just read this book. That's really cool, man. So if you do eventually release a novel, and you're sounds like you're far away from that becoming a reality, or starting it. Yeah. Would you stick to the horror theme, or would you go in a whole different direction, do you think? And I don't want you to spoil anything, but just ideal wise, are you thinking about...
I've got 2 long stories that I want to write, and I don't mind talking about that. I even have a title for one. So one novel is along the horror theme. It's the concept of this guy who works a very tedious, career-oriented office job.
Okay.
And I think maybe some of that came from watching Fight Club back in the day. But and
really good movie.
Inspirations, but it's about this guy who's really just kind of fed up with this corporate job life, and he sees this janitor woman, an old woman who goes up and down and cleans the cubes and cleans the hallways every single day, and she's always cheery, and he just hates her and despises her because she's so happy. And he doesn't understand, because he's got this great paying job and he's this big important person, and so he ends up deciding he's going to kill her one day.
Oh wow.
And that's the start of this path that leads him into becoming a serial killer. And I've always thought, if I was going to write a book, it would dive into the mind of a serial killer.
Real monsters.
Yeah, but there would be a hint of something supernatural, because you won't be able to fully tell throughout the book. And my idea, and I call it Abysmal, is the title for this. I don't mind talking about it.
That's a cool title. I dig it.
Yeah, Abysmal is the name of it. And you get hints throughout it that it's either him and his mental facilities having issues, or there's the very realistic possibility that there's an actual demon that has possessed him and is pushing him to do these things. And I don't want the viewer to know one way or the other for sure if it's just somebody who has a psychotic breakdown and does these horrible things, or if there's an actual satanic demon somehow that pushed him into it. And that's one idea.
That's dope. I dig it.
It's that if I write a long story novel, that'll be probably what it is. The other one is I've always wanted to write like a science fiction book that's set far in the future and explores all the crazy ways that technology can go. Or we have lighters that don't blow out in the wind. Right. You know, they're like laser lighters, and I think those exist. But and we have trash collectors on the streets. They're robots like R2-D2 that actually pick up all the trash and all that. And virtual
very attainable things on our path.
Yeah, but the idea there is it's not so solid. I just have 100 little ideas for how that idea works out. The actual story, the plot. It's not as concrete.
More like building the world first, kind of figuring that out, and then fitting a story into that world.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
That might be something one day, but you know, I think everybody's got an idea in their head for a book.
Oh yeah,
that they want to write. Maybe that's not true. There might, but I think most people have an idea of a book they want to write, and they think about it. It's just a matter of figuring out how to turn that into a solid project.
Yep, that's really cool, man. Writing for me, I think, is one of the coolest, most daunting tasks, but also one of the coolest when people achieve it, because it's still that old school, not necessarily putting pen to paper. It's now putting fingers to keyboards, but
mostly, yeah.
But it's still that same putting pen to paper mindset. It's something hard set that once it's done, it's not like your games that you can patch over. This is it.
It's out there.
This is the thing. So maybe there's a second version that maybe you fixed a couple things, but grammatically. But other than that, it's out there. No bringing it back now. So I always respected that, because there's almost a level of permanentness to it.
Yeah, it's out there in the world, and I've had a lot of people send me pictures of their books, like I said, and it's awesome. But it's like, that's the form that it's in, and they're gonna have that forever. So. Or until they throw it away, but you can't take it back. It's out there.
That's really cool, man.
You still have to be vulnerable.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying, but really cool. One person was very upset.
I had somebody in my family chat, or at least on my wife's side, and they told me they didn't support the book because it talked about these dark things,
right?
And it went into domestic abuse and some very dark matter themes. But
stuff that's gut punchy, though, that you kind of need.
Yeah,
you can write surface level stuff that's borderline kids books, or you can write something that's going to be impactful.
Yeah,
you can't do both.
And that's how I knew I'd done something good, because I made something that made somebody angry and it caused a little bit of emotion. Not to make them angry, but it had caused emotion. Like there's a
reaction.
They started to read that, and it literally moved them in a way. And I was like, that's a good sign.
Yeah,
like
that means you put something into it. It wasn't surface.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really cool.
You're gonna read this, and it's gonna do something to you. It's gonna leave you with some kind of feelings. So,
heck yeah, man! I dig it. So outside of what we've kind of covered so far, is there anything you're looking at adding into your repertoire, or anything that you're excited about? Any new upcoming projects, or is it kind of just keep trucking along with those 3 points? Between your videos you're writing and your game development, or that's about it. Just those 3.
I think
continuing those.
That could right now. That's most.
Not like that's not enough. Don't get me wrong. That's a ton.
I agree. So, I just I'm a creative person. I like to make stuff, and I really think that you need to look at doom scrolling and what you're doing throughout the day. Am I watching 10 videos or am I putting something out there? Am I putting out videos? Am I reading books? Isn't the worst thing in the world, but I'm reading books, but I'm also putting books out there. I'm playing video games. I'm putting video games out there. You need to give back a little bit. If you're spending a lot of your time consuming whatever it is, you should also try to put some of that back out there. And because of that, 5 or 10 years from now, I might uncover some new creative outlet that I've never even thought of. And earlier in my life, I spent a lot of time trying to make music and trying to find success in making music. Didn't know enough about how to reach people, to market to people.
Right.
And it just wasn't maybe in the cards for me. Maybe one day I'll make music again. I don't know. But for me, I found a lot of success in the video games and in the video content, and maybe one day with the books. But I've only put out 2 books, and I think you need to fail many, many times over. So, so I'll probably try to fail again with another book.
There you go. There you go.
But
very cool, man.
They're slightly successful, but I don't know. Life changes and your interests change, and the underlying concept though is that whatever you end up finding yourself enjoying doing, consuming, try to give back, try to turn that into some kind of creative outlet.
That's awesome, dude. Well, I gotta say, this has been a really cool interview for me. I've been looking forward to this just because of how much stuff you're involved in. It's nice to see somebody who is not only involved in so much but also successful in those things,
mildly
you know?
Successful.
Success is success, regardless. I mean, you're not unsuccessful in it. You're successful in it. Yeah, you're not a major star or, you know, a household name.
Yeah.
But you're still successful, and that's huge. I mean, that's super important, I think, because it shows that there's varying levels. You don't have to be a Mr. Beast or whatever, right? Like, which I don't know who would want to be anyway. But you don't have to be that to be a success.
No.
So, or, you know, be BioWare or be Stephen King. You know, you can be
releasing a book
PJ
was a major milestone. Was having a book show up in the mail.
Yep.
That you know, and being able to flip the pages, and then to see other people to see that was a major success for me. I don't need it to be that's not something I think I'll ever do as a living. It'd be cool, but just doing it was a major accomplishment. So whatever your level of success is in your brain, you know, set those kind of goals. And so for me, it was like publish a book. That was successful.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, so on this channel, we like to do one of our last things, which is dad advice. As a father.
Ooh, dad advice.
What is one of the fatherly wisdom, as we call it, because everybody else calls it dad advice.
Yeah.
We like to be a little fancy. So for fatherly wisdom, what is a fatherly piece of information that you can give to the viewers, no matter what it is? Just something. Okay. And not like you haven't given so much already in this episode, but...
Try not to permanently scar your kids or your coworkers.
Already failed that. Cool.
Or your spouses. It's very easy in this day and age to be impatient and selfish, and only to care about what's going on with you. You have to keep in mind that other people are counting on you. And so a lot of times with my kids, I'll be sitting there trying to work on a project. I don't have a whole lot of time to make games or videos. Sometimes I create them at 1 a.m. when my kids are asleep.
Right.
So sometimes you have to put down whatever your selfish desires are: playing video games, reading books, working on guns, baking your bread.
Yep.
You have to put it down and just and hang out with your kids. And one thing, it's not my advice, but I saw it somewhere else, and it's really always stuck with me, is that when your kids or somebody, whoever approaches you face to face, when they start talking to you, you should put your phone down every single time. I think that's a big one that people are really bad about these days, and it stuck with me. So I had a habit of I would be staring at my screen or my computer working on something, and my kids would come up talk to me, and I wouldn't even look away from the screen.
Yep.
And what a horrible thing. And so I've made a very solid effort that if my boy approaches me, whatever he's saying, even if it doesn't seem like it's that important at the time compared to what you're doing, what you're working on, put down the side hustle, put down the hobby for just a moment, and have a face-to-face moment with the people around you, with your kids, with your spouse, with your friends. Just put down the screens and the devices. It's not that important. And when you look back at the end of your life, you'll be glad. I think you'll have less regret that you had an eye-to-eye moment with somebody, and you put the device down. I think that's something that everybody could probably work on.
100%. I'm not going to lie. That
sounds like easy advice. It's very hard.
It's very hard advice, and I'm guilty of it. I know I am, and I'm trying to be better. Before this conversation, I've been trying to be better about that, but now definitely after this conversation, I think I'm going to try to be even better about that. It's difficult with how tied in we are with technology, and I absolutely hate technology. But
this is our lifestyle. Yeah. You started out saying how you feel about technology. Yeah. And I work at technology. I develop things for my day-to-day job and for my side hustles that are very ingrained in technology, but I still think it's incredibly important that we make sure that we don't let it consume all of our time.
Don't lose that human connection.
Yeah, and when your kids come up to you to talk and tell you whatever it is that they found, a rock or whatever, put your phone down and look them in the eye and have that conversation. That's
amazing advice, guys. Yeah, if you can take away nothing else from this entire section, that is worth its weight in gold. Yeah. And like you said, it sounds simple and it sounds uncomplicated. It sounds like common sense, but so many of us, myself included, forget that very quickly. Mm-hmm. But all right, well, plug your stuff. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you? You'll go over your book names again, games, all the things. We'll just run down a list. We'll get a rolling screen going.
Well, You can watch my videos prominently on TikTok or YouTube or on Facebook. It's generally under Not Famous. I've got about 90-something thousand followers on TikTok, so I mostly push them there. But I'm trying to branch out to other platforms and reach more people. And it may or may not be your content, but you might enjoy it. And then the books, Midnight Nightmares and Scary Stories and Urban Legends, you can find those on Amazon. You can get them digitally, or you can order an actual copy and hold it and turn the pages and hold something that was made by, just a random person if you've never met me. Or someone that you've met, which is kind of cool too.
That's very cool.
The video games, most of the video games I put out are mobile games, like a game called Lone Tower and 100 other games. I've got some Steam games, so if you actually play PC gaming in Steam and you have a Steam Deck and you want to play those games, Lone Tower's coming to Steam.
There you go.
And it's all over the place. You don't have to actively seek it out. If you're the person who fits what I'm creating, it'll probably flow to you in some way.
There you go.
I think that organic growth really is the way to go.
There you
but
go.
It's good to plug things. And also
Absolutely.
keep watching this podcast. I think, like you said, if you guys watch whether the first episode or this episode, and then if you stick with it and watch episode 100, however many years down the road it is, it'd be pretty awesome to see how it's changed and how it's adapted and how it's grown over the years.
Well, we appreciate the faith. We appreciate the commitment. We appreciate you being here. Like I said, this has been one that we've been talking about actually for quite some time, getting this one done. So, guys, appreciate you watching as always. Thank you for joining us on the Spillway today. My name is Zach, and this has been my guest, PJ.
Yep.
And we hope you have a great one, and we hope you got something from this, guys. Have a good one. Thank you as always. Bye.